some of my memories. These are interesting in the fact that they go back to probably around 19.
In December 1999, a phone call pierced the quiet of Charles Schulz's Santa Rosa studio, delivering a devastating verdict: stage 3 colon cancer and strokes that blinded one eye. At 77, the creator of Peanuts, known as Sparky, whispered, "It's over." Tears smudging sketches of Charlie Brown and Snoopy. For 50 years, he'd drawn Peanuts daily, touching 355 million readers across 75 countries, with characters that mirrored universal dreams and struggles. From a shy Minnesota boy to a billion-dollar cultural icon, Schulz's journey of resilience and heartbreak ended with failing vision and tremors, silencing a pen that defined generations. Born on November 26, 1922, in Minneapolis, Minnesota, Charles Monroe Schulz entered a world of modest means and unspoken struggles. His father, Carl, a German immigrant with a meticulous nature and a thick accent, ran a small barber shop on Selby Avenue in St. Paul, where the rhythmic snip of scissors was a constant in young Charles's life. But during the Great Depression, the shop's chairs often sat empty, the silence a stark reminder of economic despair. His mother, Dina, of Norwegian descent, left her waitressing job at a local diner to raise their only child in a cramped apartment above the shop, where love and determination outshone financial strain. The apartment was sparsely furnished: a worn sofa, a small radio, a kitchen table where bills piled up, but Dina's warmth made it a home. When the Depression crashed into their lives in 1929, Charles was 7, and the family's world tilted into uncertainty. Carl's customers, once loyal regulars, vanished as their own pockets emptied, and the Schultzes rationed meals, sometimes sharing a single loaf of bread for days. In 1934, seeking a fresh start, they moved to Needles, California, a sun-scorched desert town along Route 66, where the heat was as oppressive as the isolation. It felt like living in a forgotten corner of the earth, Schulz later recalled in a 1985 interview, his voice heavy with the memory of dust and desolation. The fear of hunger and the ache of displacement seeped into Peanuts, where Charlie Brown's quiet, anxieties about his father's job, and the family's stability mirrored Schulz's childhood dread of losing the fragile security his parents fought to maintain. 2 days after his birth, an uncle dubbed him Sparky, inspired by Spark Plug, the mischievous horse in Barney Google, a comic strip that captivated 1920s readers with its slapstick humor and colorful characters drawn by Billy DeBeck. The nickname became a lifelong emblem, used by friends, family, colleagues, and even his editors at United Feature Syndicate. Comics were Sparky's sanctuary, a refuge from a world that often felt harsh and unwelcoming. He'd spend hours hunched over scraps of butcher paper or the backs of old envelopes, copying Popeye's muscular forearms, Mickey Mouse's oversized ears, and Buck Rogers' futuristic spaceships, his pencil a shield against the cruelties of childhood. His mother would find him late at night, curled up under a dim lamp, lost in a world of ink and imagination. But school was a battleground. At Richard Gordon Elementary, his precocious intellect led to a 2-grade skip at age 9, thrusting him into classes with older, taller children who towered over his slight frame. Small and shy, he became an easy target for bullies who sneered "runt" and shoved him in hallways or tripped him on the playground. The sting of exclusion became the heartbeat of Charlie Brown, the boy who tries to belong but never quite does, whose kite snags in a tree, whose football is yanked away by Lucy's mischievous hand. Schultz's dog, Spike, was a black and white hound with a personality as vivid as a Sunday comic. Mischievous and fearless, Spike devoured oddities: nails, rubber bands, a pocket knife, even a tin can, yet bounded with irrepressible energy. His antics a source of joy in a frugal household. Charles would laugh as Spike chased his tail or stole socks. His boundless spirit alight in dark times. At 14, Schulz sketched Spike balancing a bone on his nose, a feat so absurd it felt like magic, and mailed it to Ripley's Believe It or Not. On February 22, 1937, the sketch appeared in newspapers across the country, a small spark of fame that lit up his young heart. "I felt like I'd touched the stars," he said in a 1990 interview, his eyes distant with the memory. But classmates scoffed, calling it a fluke, and teachers dismissed it as a childish whim, their indifference deepening his sense of isolation. When Spike was struck by a car at age 10, Schulz's world fractured. "I hid in my room and wept," he recalled, the loss carving a wound that never fully healed. That grief gave birth to Snoopy, the beagle who inherited Spike's spirit, dreaming atop his doghouse with a typewriter, chasing adventures from World War I skies to the moon, a loyal companion who embodied both loss and boundless imagination. Dina's unwavering belief in her son was a quiet, powerful force. She sacrificed new clothes, household comforts, and even meals to buy him sketch pads and pencils, her hands calloused from scrubbing floors to make ends meet. Carl, a practical man shaped by the struggles of immigration and the Depression, saw art as a risky, impractical path, urging Charles toward the steady trade of barbering. "You can't eat dreams," Carl would say, his voice gruff but laced with worry. The tension between his parents' hopes and fears fueled Schulz's resolve to prove his art's worth. In 1938, when Charles was 15, Dina's cervical cancer diagnosis cast a dark shadow over their home. Her pain filled the apartment above the barber shop, her cries piercing Charles's sleep as he lay awake, grappling with helplessness. He drew comics, silly dogs, hopeful kids, whimsical scenes, to coax a fleeting smile from her gaunt face, each sketch a small act of defiance against her suffering. By 1943, as her condition deteriorated, Schulz enrolled in a correspondence art course from art instruction schools, determined to hone his craft for her sake. Dina died on February 28, 1943, at 48, just days before he shipped out for the Army. "Her smile was gone, but her faith in me stayed," he said in a 1975 letter. "Her loss a wound that colored every Peanuts panel with a tender ache for love, lost and remembered." In February 1943, Schulz joined the 20th Armored Division as a staff sergeant, leading a machine gun squad through the chaos of World War II. Training at Fort Snelling, Minnesota, he formed bonds with soldiers like Eddie Thompson, a wisecracking farm boy from Iowa whose sharp humor and resilience inspired Snoopy's playful wit and unyielding spirit. Eddie's stories of rural life and his knack for finding humor in hardship echoed in Snoopy's antics, from his battles with the Red Baron to his daydreams as Joe Cool. Landing in France in February 1945, Schulz marched 1,400 miles across a war-torn Europe. From Normandy's blood-soaked beaches to Germany's shattered heart. He reached Dachau concentration camp on April 30th, 1945, a day after its liberation, the skeletal faces of survivors and the stench of death searing into his memory. Unable to process the horror, he sketched their silhouettes in a private notebook, the pencil trembling in his hand, each line a silent prayer for those lost. In one chaotic moment near Munich, he fired his M1919 machine gun at a shadowy figure in the fog, only to realize it wasn't loaded, a mistake that haunted him with both relief and guilt. "I could have killed someone, or died myself," he later confided to a friend. Yet his courage under fire earned him the Combat Infantryman Badge, a quiet testament to his resolve. Before shipping out, he had promised Dina a new dog upon his return, a vow Snoopy would fulfill in spirit, embodying the loyalty and love of that lost hound. Returning to St. Paul in November 1945, Schulz was a changed man, haunted by the war's atrocities and the fresh grief of his mother's death. Living above his father's barbershop, he battled suicidal thoughts, the weight of loss and displacement pressing against his chest like a vice. The sounds of the shop, scissors, razors, the hum of conversation, felt both familiar and alien, a reminder of a world he no longer fully belonged to. Drawing became his lifeline, each stroke a rebellion against despair. He took a job at art instruction schools, grading sketches for correspondence courses, where he met Donna Mae Johnson, a red-haired accountant with a radiant smile and a laugh that warmed the cold Minnesota winters. They shared lunches by the Mississippi River, sitting on a weathered bench as they talked of art, dreams, and a future beyond the war's shadow. Donna's fiery hair and gentle kindness captivated Schulz, sparking a love that felt like salvation. In 1950, he proposed, his heart laid bare in a moment of vulnerability. But Donna chose Al Wold, her longtime fiancé, shattering Schulz's world. It was like the world collapsed, he said in a 1980 interview, the rejection etching itself into the little red-haired girl, Charlie Brown's unattainable dream, a symbol of love forever out of reach that haunted Peanuts for decades. In June 1947, Schulz's Lil Folks debuted in the Minneapolis Tribune, a modest strip featuring quirky kids and sharp wit that hinted at Peanuts' future. Earning just $10 a week, he poured his heart into each panel, sketching in the dim light of his father's shop after hours. The strip's early characters, a boy named Charlie Brown, a dog named Spike, were raw versions of what would become icons, their simplicity belying the depth of Schulz's pain. But when St. Paul Pioneer Press editors refused to move Lil Folks to the comics page or raise his pay, Schulz quit in January 1950, his pride outweighing his poverty. I knew it was good, he later said, and I wasn't going to let them bury it. Pitching to United Feature Syndicate, he faced another blow. They renamed his strip Peanuts, a title he despised for its circus connotations, calling it undignified for a work so deeply personal. Launched on October 5, 1950, in 7 newspapers, it earned a meager $90 a month, barely enough to cover rent. To survive, Schulz took odd jobs, including lettering gravestones for a local monument company, sketching Peanuts in a freezing St. Paul coffee shop to save on electricity, his breath visible in the chilly air as he hunched over his sketch pad. The first strip introduced Charlie Brown with a gut punch. Good old Charlie Brown. I hate him. A line that echoed Schulz's own wounds of rejection and isolation, drawn from years of being the outsider. Snoopy appeared 2 days later, on October 4th, 1950. A quiet beagle who'd soon soar as a World War I flying ace, a jazz-loving hipster, and an astronaut dreaming on the moon. His evolution from a simple pet to a cultural icon mirrored Schulz's own journey from obscurity to fame. By 1952, Peanuts ran in 40 papers, introducing Linus Van Pelt and his security blanket, inspired by Schulz's daughter Meredith, not Amy, as sometimes reported, clutching her beloved toy during a stormy Minnesota night. Parents and psychologists debated the blanket's unhealthy symbolism, with some calling it a crutch for weak children. Schulz defended it fiercely in a 1954 letter to editors. It's not weakness, it's the courage to hold on to what comforts you. Lucy's psychiatric booth, charging 5 cents for advice, was born from Schulz's own therapy sessions in the late 1940s, where he wrestled with fears of failure, rejection, and the lingering pain of his mother's death. By 1958, Peanuts appeared in 355U, S papers, and 40 international ones, its merchandise, Snoopy dolls, Hallmark cards, lunchboxes, T-shirts, and even a Ford Falcon ad campaign laying the foundation for a billion-dollar empire. Schulz's quiet determination had transformed a small strip into a global phenomenon. But he never forgot the coffee shop's chill, the sting of rejection, or the weight of proving his art's worth. In 1965, A Charlie Brown Christmas defied CBS executives who scoffed at its sparse animation, Vince Guaraldi's unconventional jazz score, and Linus's recitation of the nativity story from the Gospel of Luke. Schulz insisted on authenticity, rejecting studio demands for a laugh track, adult voices, or a more commercial soundtrack. "This is what Christmas means to me," he told producers, his voice firm despite his shy demeanor. Aired on December 9, 1965, the special captivated 50% of U.S. TV viewers, 15.4 million households, its raw honesty and child voices resonating. With a nation grappling with the Vietnam War, civil rights struggles, and social upheaval, the special won an Emmy and a Peabody Award, grossing $50 million over time, proving Schulz's vision over corporate skepticism. His clashes with CBS over the uncommercial jazz score, Guaraldi's Linus and Lucy, became an instant classic, revealed his fierce commitment to his art's integrity, a battle he fought with quiet resolve. The special's success spawned a franchise of TV specials, including It's the Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown, and A Charlie Brown Thanksgiving, 1973, each weaving Schulz's themes of hope and resilience into holiday traditions. In 1968, after Martin Luther King Jr.'s assassination, teacher Harriet Glickman wrote to Schulz, urging him to include a black character to promote racial integration in a divided America. Schulz, initially hesitant about tokenism, corresponded with Glickman for months, wrestling with how to create a character who felt authentic. On July 31, 1968, he introduced Franklin Armstrong, a quiet, confident boy who joined the Peanuts gang as an equal, playing baseball with Charlie Brown and sharing classroom scenes with Peppermint Patty. Southern newspaper editors, citing segregationist pressures, demanded Franklin's removal from integrated scenes. Schulz's response was unwavering. "I'd rather quit than draw a segregated strip," he told United Feature in a heated phone call. His stand prevailed, and Franklin remained, a subtle but powerful statement in a divided era. The decision sparked hate mail from some readers, but Schulz stood firm, later saying, "If I can't draw the world as it should be, what's the point?" Snoopy's star soared, becoming NASA's safety mascot in 1968 after the Apollo 1 tragedy. His image, adorning mission patches for Apollo 10 and inspiring fan conventions from Tokyo to London. Astronauts named a lunar module Snoopy and a command module Charlie Brown, a nod to Schulz's universal appeal. By 1970, Peanuts ran in 1,000 papers, earning Schulz $1 million annually. Its influence spanning books, Broadway shows like You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown, 1967, and a Snoopy balloon in the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. Plagiarism accusations tested Schulz's resolve, as imitators mimicked Peanuts' style in underground comics. In a 1972 court case, he proved characters like Woodstock, a scrappy yellow bird named after the 1969 music festival and inspired by a childhood friend's pet canary named Tinker, were his own, born from personal memories of a boy who fed birds in St. Paul's alleys. His essential tremor, worsening by the 1980s after a 1981 heart surgery, made each line a laborious act of will. Yet he refused assistance, insisting on drawing every stroke himself. "If it's not my hand, it's not Peanuts," he told an aide. In 1977, United Feature's secret hiring of Al Plastino to prepare backup strips enraged Schulz. who saw it as a betrayal of his life's work. He secured a contract guaranteeing his sole control, a testament to his fierce protectiveness over Peanuts. By 1995, Peanuts ran in 2,000 papers, but the comics industry was fading, overshadowed by the rise of television, video games, and the internet. At 75, Schulz rejected syndicate demands to shrink the strip's size or hire ghost artists, his pride as fierce as ever. "This is my life's work," he told editors in a tense meeting, his voice steady despite his trembling hands. He spent hours perfecting each panel, redoing lines that wobbled from his tremor, determined to maintain the strip's quality. In November 1999, emergency surgery revealed stage 3 colon cancer, and a series of strokes left him blind in one eye, his right eye struggling to focus. Chemotherapy drained his strength, and his tremors became a violent quake, making it nearly impossible to hold a pen. Yet he tried, sketching rough outlines in his studio, his frustration palpable as lines veered off course. On December 14, 1999, he appeared on The Today Show, announcing his retirement, his voice breaking as he told Al Roker, "It's been taken from me. I can't draw anymore." Signing his final strip, he sketched Snoopy one last time, whispering, "Poor Charlie, he never kicked that football." A poignant nod to the boy's eternal hope and inevitable disappointment. A reflection of Schulz's own acceptance of his limits. Schulz's contract ensured Peanuts would end with him, a promise to protect his creation from being diluted by others' hands. "No one else can draw their hearts," he told Jean, his voice resolute. His final strip, published February 13, 2000, featured Snoopy typing a heartfelt farewell letter on his doghouse, thanking fans for their love and loyalty over 5 decades. The letter, signed Sparky, was a rare glimpse into his personal voice, a thank you to the world that embraced his characters. That night, February 12, 2000, Schulz died at 77 from cancer complications in his Santa Rosa home, hours before the world saw his last work. At its peak, Peanuts appeared in 2,600 papers across 75 countries, read by 355 million people, translated into 21 languages, from Spanish to Japanese to Arabic. The Charles M. Schulz Museum, opened in 2002 in Santa Rosa, preserves 7,000 original strips, his desk, and even his childhood sketchbooks, a testament to his enduring legacy. A 2007 biography by David Michaelis, alleging depression and an affair, stirred controversy, painting Schulz as a tormented figure. His son Monty and wife Jean fiercely disputed it. He was happier than they claimed, and his joy was in his art, in giving the world something real, Monty said in a 2008 interview. Schulz's 5 children, 17 grandchildren, and millions of fans knew him through Peanuts' warmth, not the biography's shadows. Schulz's life was a tapestry of pain and triumph, woven into Peanuts' tender lines. From a boy sketching to escape hardship, he gave us Charlie Brown's hope and Snoopy's dreams, touching millions across generations. His art, born from loss, remains a beacon of resilience. Subscribe for exclusive Peanuts insights and updates from the Schulz Museum.